Good morning, friends. This is Dennis Miracle. Today I'm going to be making what I'm calling the trellis purse. And I just wanted to show you what pieces you needed. Of course, it's for the 6x10 hoop. You need all of these pieces cut 7x11 with one exception, and I'll tell you what that is in a moment. You need 2 pieces of lining fabric. I'm using this pretty blue fabric for lining. You need 2 pieces of fabric. One of these will be the back of the exterior, the back of the purse, and the other will be on the front. It will be the second piece of fabric that is put down, which is the applique piece in this case. You need 1 piece of fabric or vinyl over here also, fabric or vinyl. And this is going to be the piece I put down first, and this will be shown, it will only show at the top and the bottom of the purse. So this will be what I'm calling the main fabric, even though it's vinyl. You need 2 pieces of batting, since I'm doing mostly a fabric purse, and one of the pieces of batting needs to be cut 6x11. This piece here I've cut 6x11 instead of 7x11. It will go on the front side, and you'll see why it needs to be a little smaller. It goes under the zipper, so the zipper takes up about 1 inch, so you need to make this 6x11 so it'll fit under the zipper. And then you need a zipper. This is an extremely long zipper. I don't know where I got it from, but you need a zipper. I'm comfortable with a 12 to 14 inch zipper. You just want to make sure that it's longer than at least a couple inches longer than the outline of the bag itself. And then you need a couple of the little pieces here if you want. I'm going to put these at the top of the bag, 1 inch in from each side, and they will be for the addition of cross-body straps if you want to do that. That's purely optional, but I do put them in my bags. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to the machine where I have run the first step, and I'm going to take my zipper, because that's the first thing we'll be doing. So I'll meet you back over there. Okay, I'm here by the machine, and let me turn on my light so I can see. All right, I'm here by the machine, and I have run the first step of the design, and the first thing we need to do is put on the zipper. So I put my zipper kind of between, space it between the lines here, the exterior lines, and I'm going to start by tacking it down with some tape here at the top, and then on both sides I'm going to tape it down. There we are. And now I'm going to run this step 2, which will sew this down. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, step 2 was run, and it's sewn the zipper down. So what I'm going to do now is turn the hoop over to the back side and take my piece of lining, the first piece of lining, which is this pretty blue, and I'm going to put it face down, and I'm going to be lining the edge of the fabric with this line here at the bottom. I kind of just look at it this way, as 1, the top line, 2, 3, and 4. And so if I line it here at the bottom line number 4, the stitching will actually occur on line number 3, over line number 3. So that'll give you about 1/4 of an inch seam. So anyhow, put your fabric and make sure it's spaced equally on the sides. Put it right up there at the line, this bottom line number 4, and tape it down. Okay, now pick up your hoop and let that piece roll over to the front, as just happened, and take it and fold it over several times, and then take and tape it here to the frame of the hoop to keep it out of the way, because we won't be using it probably for 7 or 8, 9, 10 steps, so it's out of the way, and that's where it should be. Now let's take our fabric, in this case vinyl, and put it face down right against the edge here of the zipper, the bottom edge of the zipper, which is where we place the lining at on the back side of the hoop. And this piece of fabric, just so, or vinyl, just so you know, this is going to be, if you've seen the picture of this purse, it's going to be the piece that shows at the top and the bottom. It's not the applique piece, it's the piece that's the top and the bottom that gets the pretty stippling if you choose to do stippling, which is optional. So let me take it and put it face down and center it in between the sides and tape it down. Okay, and then put this in the machine and run step number 3, and it will run a line of stitches as I was showing you on the back side, right about a 1/4 inch from the edge of the zipper, in the same place that tacked the zipper down. That's where it's gonna go right over that. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, step number 3, put a line of stitches as I said it would, and let's look on the back to make sure it held. And yes, it did hold, and it's fine. It didn't come loose and cause a problem. So back to the front we go, and I'm going to take now and put this piece of, well, where did I put it? Well, I need my piece of lining that, or piece of batting that I told you was 6 by 11. Let me grab it. All right, I'm back with this piece of 5 by 11 batting, and you can see I'm placing it just under the 1/4 inch or so under the stitch line. So take this piece here and fold it down, which is a little difficult with vinyl, but I'm going to take and tape it on the sides to give it some extra help. Okay. So that is taped down, and I'm going to take it to the machine, and the machine is going to do it's going to go around the perimeter of this piece of fabric just to hold it down, kind of as a basting stitch. So let me do that. That's step number 4. Let me go ahead and do that. All right, I ran step 4 as it was, and you can see that it has sewn this down very nicely, so it's all flat. The next thing I'm going to do is put the hoop back in the machine, and step number 5 is the top placement line for your applique. So let me put that back in the machine and run step 5. All right, I ran step 5. As you can see, this is the placement for the applique piece. So get whatever you're using as your applique center piece, the piece that will be here in the center, and place it over the design and I don't think I need to tape. Well, let me put a piece of tape here at the top. And put this back in your machine and let it run the tack down for the top of the applique. Be right back. Okay, you can see that the fabric has been tacked down, and in a moment I will be using my applique scissors and getting rid of everything above the stitch line. But I'm not going to do that at this moment. I'm going to wait and do the top and bottom together. Since the piece of fabric is already sewn down, we don't need another tack down stitch for the bottom part, but it's going to, the next step will do the exact same thing, make the exact same pretty stitching at the top. It will do that at the bottom, and then when that's done, I will then take and cut on both sides, trim away the excess fabric. So let me stick this back in and have it run that, and I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, the same stitching has been run at the bottom as at the top, and now I'm going to take my applique scissors, and I'll do this off camera because this will take probably 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm going to cut starting like this and just cut this top above the, leaving this alone in the center, but cutting all this portion here off, and the same at the bottom. I'm going to cut on this side of the stitch line and cut all of this little piece of fabric off at the bottom. So it'll take me a few minutes. Let me do that off camera, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, I've finished trimming that, and you can see there it's going to look really pretty. The next thing is the running of the satin stitch, which actually is what's called a rope stitch, which is very unique and beautiful, I think, much more so than a satin stitch to me. That's just the way I feel. I'm sure others don't agree, but that's what is going to be run. And so let me put that back in the machine, and that'll take a few minutes. I'll have that stitching done. Be right back. Okay, step number 9 is we'll run a stitch around every link of the rope or chain, however you want to look at it. It will just outline each individual link of this rope, and I'm going to change colors and do that in orange. So let me run that step, and I'll be back in a bit. Well, I ran step 9, and I'm a little displeased at myself because I can still see a little bit of the pieces of the fabric, little white pieces that are showing through, because I was lazy and did not trim it close enough. However, the next step is to do I'll change back to purple, and the next step will run the rope stitch as it did up above. But before I do that, I'm going to take and try to cut this very, very closely. And that's all the takeaway I'd give you folks, is make sure you cut your applique close to the stitch line, not the way I did it at the top, which I don't like seeing pieces of fabric coming through. So let me stop and do a little more trimming, and then I'll put this back in the machine. I'll change colors. Actually, I don't think I'll change colors. I think I'll reverse it and do orange rope stitch and a purple lining or outlining. So let me stop and do that, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, I just ran step 10, and there's still a little fabric showing through, but I'm going to now change colors. As you see, I did purple on the top and orange on the bottom. I'm going to change and do the outlining of the individual links in purple. So let me do that, and I'll run step number 11, and then I'll show you what that looks like after I get done. Be right back. Okay, I ran step 11 and indeed used the purple outline, and it went fine. I had some problems early on with my machine over on this corner, but that was my machine's fault. So I'm going to the next steps. Excuse me. The next steps. Excuse me, I had a coughing spell. The next steps are going to be the optional pretty decorative stitching, and the step 12, which is the next step, will be the stitching here in the center of a pretty kind of diamond shaped stitching. And also, just to let you know, there is a back piece available with the same stitching here in the, which will be here in the center. There is a back piece available also for an additional $2, but I'm going to run the center stitching, and I'll show you what that looks like when I get back. All right, that was step number 12. That put this pretty quilting here. I like it. It's simple, but I think it's very attractive. Now I'm going to stick this hoop back in the machine, and steps 13 and 14 will be just plain stippling here in this solid orange part on the top and the bottom. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't run that, but I'm going to run that on this orange because it needs a little dressing up to me. Just my feelings. So anyhow, let me run steps, what would that be, 13 and 14, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, steps 13 and 14 have been accomplished, and I think it looks really pretty. I'm happy with it. The next thing we need to do is finally let this piece of lining roll back to the back side. Turn the hoop over. Take out these pieces here of tape on the sides. Fold it down where it's taut, and then stick it back in the machine, and it will do some stitching. It'll basically do the same stitching it did where it goes all around, what I call the basting stitch. That'll tack down that piece of lining on the back side. So let me do that, and that's step 15, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I ran step 15, which you can't see much difference on the front, but let's turn it over to the back side. And yes, it's all sewn down, so that's just perfect. Now, going back to the front, remove this tape over here because we are going to open the zipper. Come on. All right, open your zipper about 3/4 of the way. Well, let me see. First let me remove this piece of behind the zipper here. Let me remove this stabilizer. So let's do that first so the zipper can open easily. And I just use paper towels so it comes up with my fingernail. It's just something I've done for years, use paper towels. I don't recommend it. I mean, it's up to you if you want to try it. If not, use whatever you're accustomed to and feel comfortable with, is what I tell people. Anyhow, back to the front, and let's open up our zipper. Now it opens easily. And let's take our crossbody bag connector, where you would put your straps, and attach those. And I always put them in about 1 inch from the side seams. And I use this line here that we just stitched, the top, this line where my finger's at, I use that as a point of reference. So tape that down at the top and tape it down also right here so that piece of metal does not get under your presser foot and cause a problem. All right, let's take the other one. Do the same. Okay. All righty. Okay, there we are. All right, now it's time to take whatever you're using for your back fabric, which I'm using the same as I used on the front, and just turn it face down, covering up what is already there. Make sure you are a little bit, which I need to pull this up, a little bit over above the edge of the zipper, at least a 1/4 inch, and I think I'm fine right now. And also, next, put a piece of batting, your piece of batting that you cut, over that. That'll give the bag a little more stability. And I don't tape it down at this point. It won't, don't think it'll move. Well, let me use this little piece of tape here that I had. I'll just put that right there. But generally it shouldn't move. And put this in your machine and run step 16, which will go all the way around the perimeter of the bag and in essence close the bag up. So you have moved the zipper in. That's the most important thing at this point. The zipper is out of the way of the presser foot, but it's inside the stitch lines of the bag, so that's the most important thing. Let me run this step and I'll be right back. Alrighty, that's stitched, as you can see, all the way around the bag. I had a problem when the presser foot got over here by the zipper. I had not raised my presser foot, which on the Baby Lock Solaris and a lot of the Baby Lock and Brother machines, you can raise the height of the embroidery foot. You need to pay attention to that because it started to dig into the zipper here and pulled this out somewhat from the from being held down. So I was not paying attention. I always raise my presser foot when I get to this thickness here. This is as thick as it's going to be on the top. So if you have a machine that you can raise the height of the presser foot while it's you know, so it can stitch over tall things, you should, you know, be really aware of that and be watching that. Anyhow, I got it fixed. It's not damaged, even though it did pull it out of the frame a bit, but it's still fine. Now I'm going to turn this over to the back side for the very last step, and I'm going to take my second piece of lining, put it face down, and lined up evenly between the sides here, and make sure that it is at least a 1/4 inch past this stitch line here that you see, the top stitch line. So that should be fine. And get your tape and tape it down on all 4 corners. Okay. All right, I was just going to say before my camera turned off that take and tape the 4 corners down here of this back piece of lining and stick it in the machine and run the last step, which is step 17. And let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, I ran the last step and the sewing part in the hoop part is over. So let's take it out of the hoop. And check, see if there's any tape left on your hoops, and there is not. And look at what we have. Now, I always cut from the lining side of the bag. And what I'm going to do is take and cut at an angle here. I hope you can see this. I believe you can. cut at an angle right here, and then start and cut about 1/4 of an inch away from the stitch line all the way around. And when I get here to the end, I do the same thing, cut at an angle, and there we are. Okay. Now take all this trash and throw it away and get it out of my way so I can see what I've got. And now I take and I did it again. I cut this too short. Anyhow, take your 2 pieces of lining fabric and pull them back, and everything after that, this whole pieces here is junk basically to be thrown away. So take your scissors and cut close to the fabric here, close to the lining pieces, but don't cut the lining pieces. Okay. And here's a nice piece of vinyl. I'm going to keep that, so let me set that aside. And let's see. All right, now I'm going to take, and I'll do this off camera because it may take a minute or so. I'm going to take and reach in and turn the bag out through this gap here. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I've turned the bag out for the first time, and I'm going to take my iron and run quickly. Let me see, where's the vinyl? It is right here. Well, there's I think there's a piece of lining, and then there's a piece of batting. I think I'll run over it real quickly just to press it down. It won't hurt it. There's enough in between. At least we'll find out if there is. Okay. Alright. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is we need to turn in, and as I said, I cut that a little too short. Turn in these pieces here. Let me use my iron and give that a crease. And then turn in this, fold in this other piece, like so. Tuck in these side tabs off to the side. And that looks good. Give it another press. And then take this to your sewing machine and sew this gap closed right here between where my fingers are. So let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, I have, as you can see here, I have sewn a line of stitches through here and closed the gap up. So it's closed at the bottom. So let's now reach in, and first thing I like to do is take off these pieces of tape holding these little doodads here on. So let me remove those. Let me open the, well, let's see if I can feel it. I can feel, yes I can. Let me pull that out. Okay. And then open my zipper as far as it will go, if I can get to it. Okay, perfect. And while I was off camera, I also did go and cut some of these little, trim these little pieces of string. There's one right there. Come on, you. Okay. So I did that also while I was off camera. But anyhow, go ahead now and let's turn the bag out and see what we have. Always the exciting part, at least it is to me. I'm sure it is to most people. And let's see what it looks like. Take and turn the zipper the way it should lay, and I'm going to take and press this down away from the zipper here. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to take and close the zipper. Well, I don't know if I am or not. Okay, there we are. And I'm going to take my piece of what I call my press cloth and put that over it, because there is vinyl here. And then I'm going to run over it very quickly, not lingering or hesitating, just to kind of soften it and make it a little better, a little better. Okay. Oh, that's in the fabric. I thought it was strings. And then let's do the same on the back, but I will use the pressing cloths here. And okay. All right. Everything's nice and pressed. And turn it back to the, there's a bit of, oh well, that doesn't matter. Okay, and so this is what we have. I think it looks very nice. As I reminded you, make sure you cut close when you trim the, around this center part, because I still do see a little bit of white, which doesn't make me happy, but I'm going to try to get that off there with my scissors. These fine scissors here, cut some of that away. But anyhow, basically it looks fine, and I'm very happy with it. And I hope that you've enjoyed watching me make this today. And I hope if you obtain the pattern that you will make yourself something beautiful, or a friend or loved one. And I always stop and want to thank everyone who has continued to encourage me and support me. And I really appreciate it. And so that'll be all for today. I have 3 or 4 more designs that are I'm getting ready to release, and I just need to make videos of them. So they're being tested now to see if they actually work. And so that's the end of this. And once again, thank you so much, and appreciate you watching me. Have a good day. Bye-bye.